Wow, you're kind of a creep, Captain Dingleberry. This is the second part of the Dingleberry saga. The first is, please let me do my job, Captain Dingleberry. So people seem to enjoy my last post about the good Captain Dingleberry, so I figured I'd put out one more story before giving it a rest for a while. For those who didn't read the last one, this was during a Star Wars RPG campaign run by a good friend of mine where we were scavengers running a used spaceship dealership, and these are the players involved. Me, a wisecracking black market smuggler Twi'lek built pretty much entirely for charisma in social checks, but not getting much chance to do them at all. Pilot, our Rodian friend, a master behind the wheel when not being screwed up the bung by his horrific dice curse. DM, my old roommate. Still the chillest guy I've ever met, but getting increasingly less chill every time the star of the story pulls off some stupid antic. And lastly, the good Captain Dingleberry, the captain of the crew, an illegal Wookie force sensitive with 0 charisma stats who insists on doing all the talking and having the spotlight, and consistently gets us in trouble for it. So when we left off, the good captain had flubbed a military trial and gotten us all thrown into indentured servitude to the rebellion in order to pay off Pilot and Dingleberry's sentences. I got off scot-free because again, I built my whole character to get out of situations like this. And our first mission is to go and plant false evidence for some Imperials who are searching for them. The way we play the game is that whenever we go into hyperdrive mode and travel from one part of space to the other, we have a while to just sit on the ship and interact with each other, or more accurately, for me and Pilot to sit doing nothing while Captain Dingleberry talks endlessly about the pointless and arbitrary upgrades he's making to the ship. Luckily, we had recently come into possession of a set of broken-down battle droids, which we disarmed and reprogrammed to be friendly. In return for literally replacing me with one and rendering my whole role useless, see previous story, the good captain was kind enough to let me have one as well, whom I named Friend Besto, in honor of the Oral Nauts. So we were traveling to the point where we were to plant the red herring for the Imperials, and I was playing Pajak, essentially space poker, with Friend Besto and Pilot, and whooping them both quite handily, as neither had any kind of proficiency for the game. The good captain walks by and I call to him asking if he'd like to join, because I want to take his money. I'm a nice person who tries to include people. Dingleberry gets a sneaky look on his face that I really should have taken as a warning, and agrees to a pretty meager wager. Well, my character has a prideful streak a mile wide and plays to win, so she goes for the sleight of hand and tries to cheat. Meanwhile, Captain Dingleberry asks the DM if he can try to give himself the advantage by using the fucking force. DM agrees, seeing as it's only a small wager and I'm cheating too, and I lose because the captain has a long history of fudging dice rolls and more than likely did so this time too, got lucky. So that's it, right? I hand over the money and slink away with my wounded pride to hide in my bunk for the rest of the trip. Oh no, my friends. Captain Dingleberry gets the biggest shit-eating grin and says to me, I'm adding to the wager. I'm taken aback and more than a little annoyed because I'm pretty sure adding to the wager after you win isn't how it works, but I want him off my back so I grumble a little and ask him what he wants. When we get to a space station, I'm going to be looking for a slave bikini costume. And you're going to wear it for me. Absolute silence. DM is taken aback. Pilot, who up until now was laughing uproariously at my misfortune, is still smiling but looks distinctly uncomfortable. And I have no idea what the fuck to make of any of it. A bit of context. You may be surprised to hear this, but in real life I am not, in fact, a small Twi'lek woman. I based my character off of my smuggler character on Old Republic. In reality I'm a 6'4" man with a full beard, so while I've heard horror stories of people getting their characters perved on by creepy neckbeards, I was honestly the last person I ever expected it to happen to. But here it is, happening, right in front of me. Captain Dingleberry still has that stupid smug creepy grin on his face and nobody knows what to do, and I get it now. I understand how those people on RPG horror stories felt. It's fucking creepy and it makes me sick to my stomach. You don't realize how it feels until it happens to you, and I know I don't even have it as bad as many of the other cases because he's perving only on my character and not on me too, and it still makes me uncomfortable as shit. My sympathies out to anybody else this has happened to. At the time, I was inexperienced at TTRPGs and I was still unused to social encounters in general, so I didn't have the confidence to tell him to fuck off like I would now, or even know that was an option. The DM, also inexperienced in creepy shit like this, had no idea how to deal with it and decided to let me handle it. I don't want to hear any shit towards him, he's excellent, and we were all caught off guard. And after a few weak arguments that were quickly and with rather disturbing excitement shot down by the good captain, I gave up and simply tried to process what was going on and why I felt so bad about it. The story does have a somewhat happy ending, though it was born of a disaster, kind of a trend in that campaign. Over the course of our indentured work for the rebels, we came into possession of a mysterious, dangerous-looking crate, and when the good captain opened it, ignoring my advice, by the by, it turned out to contain a number of assassin droids, which activated and began to try and murder us. Now the captain had a bowcaster that he didn't need and had no skills for, but he was a Wookie, and so of course he decided he had to have a f***ing bowcaster. And of course he has to show off and fire it, even though it would be more efficient to simply attack the droids with melee because he's 5 feet from him and that's his f***ing specialty. And of course the dice curse that plagues our crew chose that moment to strike, and he crit fails with the bowcaster. DM rolls the dice to see what happens, determines that the bowcaster is going to misfire and the bolt is going to target one of us instead. Rolls another die. It's going for me. I roll to evade it and fail. It hits me in the shoulder and knocks me right f***ing unconscious, and I remain so until after the fight. The captain finally swallowed his f***ing pride and pummeled the assassin droids to death in melee like he should have from the start, where I wake up in the medbay of our ship. And for the first time in the campaign, I really get into the spirit of my character. I see an opportunity and I take it. I call for the captain, and the good Captain Dingleberry arrives, sheepishly apologizing for almost killing me while showing off. I tell him it's fine. I tell him I forgive him. I tell him I've had worse, which isn't really a lie. My character is missing the bottom half of her right leg after a run-in with bounty hunters. And then I tell him I have a request. Captain, I've done a great deal for you these past few weeks. And you know what? Between my hard work, between my keeping pilot away from the rebel firing squad, and between you shooting me with a f***ing bowcaster, I think I've earned my way out of wearing that f***ing slave costume. His face falls visibly. He wants to argue. But he also wants to be the hero of the story, and that requires him to be merciful and reasonable. Also, you know, DM and pilot are both laughing at the look on his face and he should probably act like he isn't fazed. So he agrees and I narrowly dodge what would have probably been the creepiest f***ing experience of my goddamn life. And you know what? My sleep at night is all the sweeter for it. Seriously. RPG pervs. I don't even want to imagine what the really bad situations I've read about feel like. Honestly, I know I got off easy. I have more Dingleberry stories to share, but I don't want to think about him anymore right now. Maybe some other time.